the easiest of the 5 that we'll talk about. All right, so side, side, side basically says if the 3 sides of the triangle are congruent to the 3 sides of another triangle, then the 2 triangles are going to be congruent. Right? So remember yesterday we talked about how we prove or we do congruence with these tick marks, right? So I have 3 different sides marked with 3 different tick marks. So I have the 3 congruent sides. And then remember we talked about writing congruent statements. So if I said triangle ABC is congruent, how would I have to name that triangle so it's in the same order?
DEF.
DEF. Right? Remember that order matters here when I'm naming things. Okay. So side, 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 pretty straightforward, right? I'm just looking for 3 sides congruent. I can say, yeah, they're congruent. Okay. So any questions on that? Side angle side is where you have to pay a little bit more attention to what's going on. Right? So it says 2 sides in the included angle. This is the big part. Right? Included angle of one triangle are, but you can't guess the word, congruent.
Would you look at that? To do with congruent.
That's a lot of what we talk about in geometry. So to 2 sides in the included angle of another triangle, the 2 triangles are congruent. So but let's break this down, right? What does it mean to be an included angle?
Congruent.
No. Good try though.
Yeah, that's one that has symbols to signify congruence.
So I've got the 2 sides, right? That's what I just highlighted in blue. And if I look, the 2 angles that are congruent are A and D, right? A and D, if you notice, are between the 2 sides, the 2 marked blue sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it means to be included. It's just in between the 2 sides. So you have to, when you talk about side, angle, side, it has to go side, the angle, and then the very next side, right? The side, same angle, very next side. That's really important because if it's not included, I can't say anything, right? This one's going to have the same congruent statement, right? ABC. So any questions on side, angle, side? Big thing there is just to make sure you're looking at if the angle is included. All right, so we'll look at a couple examples of what you're going to. What the heck? So when I talk about finding things congruent, there are a couple things I need to look for. Look for. It says look for. There's that blue there. I can't get rid of it, so just deal with it. Okay. Things to look for. Okay. Listen, the iPad's being weird. Okay.
Haha, I told you.
So 2 things to look for. All right. First one is if you have vertical angles. Anybody remember what's special about vertical angles? Yes, that is implied in the name.
Things cat on.
They're vertical.
What? What are you gonna say? Say it.
Crisscross.
I was gonna say like crisscross.
Yeah, so they make an X, right? What's special about them though? They're congruent, right? Vertical angles
I really know.
are congruent, right? So that's one thing I want to look for. Other thing I want to look for is if I have a shared side, right? So anytime I have vertical angles or a shared side, I'd say 9 times out of 10, they're not going to label that, so you need to label it for yourself. All right, so if I look at like these 2 examples here, all right, let's look at this first one. Before you do anything, right, check for these 2 things. So in that first one, do I have vertical angles? Yeah. right? I'm looking for those angles that make an X kind of thing. So those are my vertical angles. So I'm going to label those as congruent. I look and say, do I have a shared side there? No, right? So now I can move on and say, can I prove these are congruent? So you have the two ways, right? Side, 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 or side, angle, side. That's what I can use today. So I ask myself, what do I know here, right? I know how many sides?
4.
How many pairs of sides?
2.
2. And how many pairs of angles?
2. 4.
1 pair of angles, right? So what's the only one that can work? Side, angle, side, right? That's the only one that can possibly work because I have 2 sides and an angle. So then I want to check, does it go side, the included angle, the very next side? Yes. Side, included angle, next side, yes. So this one, all right, I can say yes by side, angle, side. All right, and that's all the answer I'm looking for. All right, is yes or no? And if it's yes, which one can you use? Okay. So look at that second one. All right. Do I have any vertical angles?
No.
Nope. Do I have a shared side?
Yes.
Yes. So this one, right, when I have shared sides, I'm going to mark that as a congruent side, right? Think about it. If I were to separate those triangles, those sides would be the same. And so they're going to be congruent to each other. So here, what do I know? How many pairs of sides?
4. No, 2.
3.
Where's
Right.
the third one?
The shared side. Right here.
It's a triangle.
What?
So there's 2
I thought it was a
triangles.
square.
So there's 2 triangles.
Why would you make a connection?
Well, this one I did, yeah.
It's a rhombus.
So,
If it was a square, why would it have 2 sides anyway?
That's what I'm saying.
okay. So, if I know 3 sides, which one am I going to use to say they're congruent? Side, 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 right? So this is the other type of way you'll see them set up, right? We used to talk about and write out proofs, right? So you'd have your statements and you have reasons. They get to be really kind of a pain in the behind. Proofs kind of in that way anymore, right? We're not going to write out reasons, but the way we're going to talk about proofs is they'll give you a given set of information, right? So they give you 3 things that are given here, right? IE is congruent to GH, EF and HF are congruent, and F is the midpoint. So what I want you to look at first is all of this information labeled, right? So is it labeled that IE and GH are congruent?
Yes.
Yes, right? Is it labeled that EF and HF are congruent?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And then they tell us that F is the midpoint of GI, right? So I'm talking about this side here, right? So is there something that I know there if this is the midpoint?
That they're congruent.
That what are congruent?
Angles.
G to F and F to I.
The verticals.
We'll get to the verticals in a second. So because this is the midpoint, right, I know that this and this are congruent. So I'm going to label that. Right? And then I still want you to check for those other 2 things, right? So a couple people mentioned I have vertical angles, right? So I label those. And then I look at, do I have shared sides?
Yes.
No, right? Shared sides means they overlap. So
How overlap?
Like that last one.
Oh.
like that is an overlapping side because I could separate this triangle, these triangles into something that looks like that.
All right. That makes sense.
All right. Okay. So I know it's going to be yes, right? Because they've told me to prove that they're congruent. So I know that they're going to be congruent. The question is, how do I know? So remember, I have those 2 options. What are you thinking?
Because all the angles are there, but there's also all the angles there, but all the sides are there too.
Okay, so I have all the sides, right?
You have
Can you
an
do
angle.
both because you have enough for both?
You
Yeah,
have enough for both of them.
right? I could say side, 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 or side, angle, side, right? Because,
SAS.
well, make sure you write it out because there's at the end of this, we're going to have 5 total ways to prove. Right? So I have all the sides, or if I look, I have side, angle, side, side, angle, side.